This episode's going to introduce you to Lesley. She's a high school teacher in Pittsburgh, and she discovered she had invasive breast cancer during class. And what happened next, this isn't just a story of treatment and survival, it's a story of transformation and gratitude. You'll learn from Lesley how to shift from I have to do chemo to I get to do chemo. You'll learn to build strength through community, both the people you already know and a whole community of people that you never knew but are going through something just like you. And you'll learn how her mindset helped her and her husband build a more powerful and healthier life. This episode will give you emotional tools to turn fear into fuel and to move from survival mode to truly living fully and freely again. Lesley, welcome to Kicking Cancer's Ass. Tell us the story. You were in the middle of teaching a high school class. You said they were taking a test and you get an alert on your watch. Take us inside that moment.
We're in 2020. We had just come back to school in the fall, like after shutting down school. I was waiting for this. I remember all in the back of my head, like deep down, knowing that it wasn't going to just be a cyst, it wasn't going to just be a calcification. And I kept trying to convince myself of that, but I don't know. It's just that I guess hindsight is 2020, but I got the buzz on my watch. I actually really luckily had a little angel of a student teacher in with me. He knew everything that was going on, which made him even more of perfectly timed universe placed him in my hands kind of thing. And he looked over at me and I ran to my desk and I started scrolling. I remember I could feel like my hands still like scrolling the mouse and shaking. Look, I'm like shaking, like looking up the result, and I see it. I don't know what those words mean. What does invasive ductal carcinoma mean? I don't know. Let's copy and paste that,
Oh
and I
no.
sure did. And it popped right up on my Google, and it said this is the most common form of breast cancer. And I'm like, how dare Google say that? Just like in its little, hey, look how helpful I am. Here's the definition.
Yeah.
And everything just spun. I grabbed my car keys and I just looked at Austin, my student teacher, and he just shooed me out of the room. My very best teacher friend was right next door to me, and I all I had to do was just look into the door of her classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And she turned to me and I just shook my head and she ran out of the room, grabbed me, and I just fell down to the floor in the hallway. And lots of voices, and another teacher came out, and my other friend, and another one, and they like carried me into the room. And the whole time was screaming, kind of cry screaming my daughter's name.
Mm-hmm.
So here I am in the hallway, which teachers, we can't really go to the bathroom when we want to. And now here I am, like having a full on, like, you just got diagnosed with cancer. I have no idea what that means. I don't know if I'm going to be alive tomorrow. And I'm screaming my daughter's name. She's 2.5 at the time. And my friends I'm just sobbing in the corner of an empty classroom nearby. So that was my day.
That is such a common, normal reaction, especially if you've never seen cancer before. You have no idea what you're facing, how serious this is. And the first thing that goes through your mind is, I'm going to die. How fabulous that your teacher sisters, your colleagues were able to at least give you some support in that. And I can see how emotional you are just thinking about it, going back to it. I'm doing this podcast is to help people in that moment
Mhm.
find hope. Cancer stories often have you as these eternally brave warriors. And that seemed like a moment where you were losing your shit. Were there
Yeah.
other moments where you lost your shit and said, I can't do this?
Yes, I think that they were in at moments that, looking back, well, and even I was going through my Instagram and trying to remind myself of like how that felt in 2020, 2021 as I'm going through all this. And, what did I write in my captions, my very raw Instagram captions? It's disappointing to myself that I think a lot of the moments were like they felt vain. It felt like, because when I lost my hair, that is still the worst part. And that makes me really lucky. And I know that. I'm so grateful that for me, like the worst part, the part that sucked the most, like deep down, was like that day that I like to just shave, to look myself in the mirror and to, I can't even, it's barely, I can barely articulate it because of how awful it was. And I don't know, like the visual and making it so symbolic. But a lot of us feel that like, oh, that's so vain. It's just hair. So I feel like those were my grossest moments, waiting for it to grow back, watching my eyelashes fall out, not having eyebrows. It just felt so, it just didn't feel like me.
So totally get that. And you don't feel sick when you're facing cancer. You got a lab result, but you don't have symptoms. And when I didn't have to shave my head, but when you had to shave your head, there's no avoiding. You look different. Something's wrong. Something's
Right.
not right. And by the way, it's been a number of years and your hair is grown back lusciously.
I know. That's why it feels so weird
But
to
it's
talk
not.
about how awful it was. But that was,
I don't think
you
that's
know,
weird.
I,
I think when I explored cold capping, I said to my sister in law, I feel so vain worrying about my hair. And she actually said she didn't think it was vain at all. And
yeah,
I think being shocked by having to make a major concession, an adjustment, and looking different because you're facing this. Otherwise, you don't have to tell people if you don't want to. But once you lose your eyebrows and you're losing your eyelashes and you're shaving your head and you're maybe wearing a wig or you're wearing turbans or whatever, people know and they treat you differently because they don't know how serious it is. They don't know what to say. And I think
yeah.
for any of us, we want to have some control over how we present ourselves to the world.
I totally agree with that. I feel my brother got married right after I was done with chemo, and I thought, I don't, I could, wouldn't care. Like, of course, they would not care about me just having a very tiny buzz cut, but to pull that away, like, I just didn't, I never wanted it to be about that. Not just the wedding, but other, like, I didn't want anyone to have to feel a certain way. It was very much projected on others, like not having to feel bad.
I think that's very generous of you. And you don't want your brother's wedding or other events to be marked by, and this is when Lesley was going through cancer. Let's just celebrate
Yeah,
your brother's wedding. So,
right.
one of the most powerful characters that you told us about was Becky. Now, at the moment, you get this thing on my chart. It tells you invasive ductal carcinoma. It doesn't tell you anything else. What did you find out from Becky, and how different would your experience have been without that first call from Becky? And give us the timeline. How long after the collapse, the meltdown, the emotional, oh my gosh, did Becky show up?
Luckily, so very quickly, when I was at school, my friends took my phone, called my mom to come pick me up. I remember getting in the car driving home, and by the time I got back to my house, my phone was ringing. So it was an hour. So I don't know. I'm sure it's flagged, and I'm sure that's all like by design. Um,
But still, that's
so it,
great.
yes, yeah. And she right away asked if I had seen it, and I said I did, and I fell right to the floor. My mom standing in our kitchen. I just like fell to the floor and grabbed her leg like a toddler. She still remembers, and she had a piece of paper and a pen, and we're shaking and on speaker, and it's just she and I in this moment, and I'm just holding on to her and listening. And Becky went through and she said, I have the perfect oncologist for you. And I said, oncologist? I don't need what do I need an oncologist for? You said this was so easy to treat. I want to be done by Thanksgiving. Can I have the surgery by Thanksgiving? And it was like September 30th or something.
Hmm.
And when she probably thinking in her head, like, oh my God, yeah, right, girlfriend, like, how about two Thanksgivings from now? She right away, her saying that she had a perfect fit oncologist for me, slapped it into reality. Like when you hear the word oncologist for the first time, now it's just another word, but hearing it for the first time with your name concept attached to it is really freaky.
I hear you. First thing I said to people, because I had to tell everybody the day I was diagnosed for a host of reasons, and I said, here's what I don't need, Google searches. Here's what I do need, an oncologist, particularly with these skills and this focus. And people are like, why do you need an oncologist? I said, because nobody who doesn't have cancer has an oncologist. That's not one of your standard doctors.
No, you don't want to know them. You don't feel like you should. You want to keep them in a different area of your life.
So
But here we
here
were.
we were. So Becky calls, and what made her approach so different? And what could other people ask for from their medical professionals that you learned from Becky?
Think that so I had met her in person during the biopsy when I had gone in because I had felt something, and she said, "We want to take you aside for a biopsy." That now seems old hat, but at the time I was sobbing and everything was horrible and I wasn't nice to her. I was a very not nice patient at that point, and that was probably the worst patient that I have been since, because I didn't it was also what is it was very confusing. You're blacked out, but she didn't care, and she was still nice to me even though I was very like, what do I need a biopsy for? I have to wait a week for this. I was very like old me and snippy and customer service, ish, and for her to call me, and after not loving having to see her in person that day and say, "I know exactly who you need. Here's your doctor. She's amazing with people your age. She has great reputation. She's going to be a really good fit for you." I never will forget that sentence. How awesome that a nurse who basically handed me a pamphlet of what a needle biopsy was going to be also knew how to find an oncologist that would be a good fit for someone. That's next level. And she here's my number right away. Here's my number. You call it. You call this number. This goes to my cell phone. Anything. If you need an appointment on a certain day, if you need something moved, I am your person going through this with you. She knew how to get an appointment. She knew who to talk to if I needed to change things around. And she said all that within the first phone call. That's my wish. I wish everybody had somebody like that, because how to manage that on your own is very intimidating.
One of the
Hmm.
things you told me was you embraced a mental reframe during treatment. Something to the extent of going from I have to do chemo to I get to. How did you come up with that reframe and how did it transform your experience?
I'm going to be perfectly honest. I have no idea where I don't know where it came from, because if you would ask anyone who would have known me my whole life growing up, they would not describe me as being an overly like positive, good energy, good vibes kind of person. That sounds bad. I'm just going to lay it out there. I think that cancer made me nicer. I think it made me look at things in a happier energy way. And it happened like that. It happened. It was immediate.
Hmm.
I can remember the moment. I was in my bed and I remember looking forward and I remember talking to my husband, and I said, and this was right after the phone call. He had gotten home. This was that day. This was the day of diagnosis. And I said to him, "I am so lucky to be here." And I'll and he just nodded, and I said, "This is great. I'm alive. I'm so thankful." And that has never left me. It was something lit up inside me that just turned my way of looking at it. I wasn't, "Why did this happen to me?" I was more like, "Oh my gosh, thank goodness this happened to me, because I can do this. And it is going to be gone and it is going to be taken care of. And I am alive." Like, holy cow, how lucky am I? I'm alive and I have a daughter. This is amazing. I wish I could give advice to this is how you get there, but I think saying it and just repeating it, fake it till you make it, is my advice for that. I am so lucky to be alive. Just kept ringing.
I love that. I love that. And to live in a time where there is treatment and
Hmm.
that you had Becky and you had good healthcare providers and mindset that you were so lucky that you get to do it, that you're lucky to be alive, that you have your husband, you have your daughter, that seemed to be contagious. Your husband made a lot of changes because of your cancer as well. Talk about that and the impact of your cancer on your marriage and on his health.
I never for a second doubted him and his support. We are like total nerds and are self-proclaimed soulmates,
Hmm.
if you will. I always said, like, I always knew it was him, and it never even occurred to me that maybe he wouldn't be supportive. I know, also super lucky. I know that because I know that can be very difficult and challenging for people. But during all of this and coming out of it, I was actually gifted through a program, the Peloton, and was nominated for it and got this email and they said, "We're going to be delivering you a Peloton." And my husband's, "Great. So we're going to have a Peloton bike sitting in our house. Where are we going to put it? What are we going to do with it? There's no way we're going to ride that thing." Take that to the next level. A week or two later, it's here and we're looking at it, and I'm not letting that thing just sit in our house. We have free access. We got a free bike. And he just did it out of spite because of my cancer. We had gotten this wonderful gift. Like, we couldn't just let it sit there. So he jumped on it and then he lost 10 pounds in 5 seconds. So that was rude. So I said, "I'm getting on this too if you're going to lose weight." And he said, "That's not why we're doing this, dear." And that's the phrase that I think about a lot is my oncologist had said, "Here's the 3 things you can do to up your survival skills 5 years from now." And it's diet, exercise, cutting out alcohol as much as you can. And the exercise thing is so huge that I'm like, okay, I can handle that. I can do that. That's one thing I know I can make myself do it. I have a free Peloton. We just use that as our, like, we just pushed each other. "Hey, did you do a 20-minute?" "Yeah, I did a 20. "Oh, I did 30 minutes the other day." "Oh, did you try this arms exercise?" And we are like the biggest nerds about it. And I don't know if I would have been without him.
Hmm.
And I think he could probably say the same for me and
How
my
much weight did he lose?
he was he was like about 90 pounds, 80, 90 pounds.
That's
Mm.
a big shift. And now you're exercising all
Yeah.
the time. And I'm sure that
Yeah.
means you're eating better and, everything is better.
Yeah, things like accidentally started happening.
What was the impact of having cancer on you as a teacher, especially a teacher of teenagers?
The mindset of time, energy, work-life balance, and things that I personally needed from my career, my home life shifted. I opened today talking about how grateful I am for those relationships with the teachers because I would not have had the same outcome, at least mentally. It changed me as a teacher. I have time, I have peace, I have patience, and I am so excited to be able to help students. I have a population of students who needs a little extra nudge at times. I walk them through the graduation process. It's such a small thing to have a high school diploma, but it's so big in their grand scheme. Being able to step back and look at life as a bigger thing.
I
But
think it does.
hey, we're reading this book, guys, but guess what? It's important, but not as important as what you can think about who you are as a person because of it.
On the flip side, you and your husband got into great shape.
Hmm.
So, speaking of parenting, were there things between your surgery and your efforts to have more children that you had to grieve? And how did you approach that?
Joelle, I'm still grieving them.
Okay.
I want to say that it's probably never going to go away. I am in awe of those who are able to get past it and be grateful for what they have. And I do try. I'm not saying I'm not grateful, but it was absolutely devastating to have to stop that part of
Hmm.
my life, and it still is because that's the maddest I am is at cancer making me make the decision to not put hormones to my body. That's how it grew.
Hmm.
I would never forgive myself, and so it's been a really odd roller coaster because I found the lump because I was pumping myself full of hormones to try to get pregnant.
Yeah.
So the irony is just like super not lost on me.
Right.
I'm thankful that I couldn't conceive and I was having issues because who knows how long that would have lied dormant in me. But also at the same time, because of that, then I couldn't have any more, but maybe I wasn't supposed to have any more. It's a game, man.
Yeah.
It is
It's a
a,
twisted puzzle in your brain, endless.
yep,
And
yep,
I think everybody carries with them some grief. I think grief and gratitude are probably two sides of a coin, right? We're
yep,
grateful
yeah,
for lots of things that have been revealed, or that we have, or that we could be treated, that we're alive, that we're here to be part of our children's lives, and we grieve, we paid a price for it.
Absolutely.
And I think you can hold both. I think there's a lot
Yeah.
of pressure to, well, be done grieving. Okay,
Yeah.
or don't. As if your grief isn't holding you back from your life and dragging you down, it's just a part of you. It's part of the mosaic that you. So
Oh, I love that. I love that.
good,
I'm
good,
gonna put that in my little heart.
good, good. We met on that Peloton community when you
Hmm.
said, yes, I want to tell my story. And when you told me you dove headfirst into the sprawling, messy world, we met. But yeah, tell me what kind of connections you found there and what surprised you, and about that community and other communities, the surprises and the disappointments.
You find people wherever in the world who has the exact same feeling. I did find people who were in almost the exact position. That's what really keeps you going in illness, in work, in life. Finding somebody with commonality, I think, was absolutely life changing. Moving over into my cancer Instagram, that was just the next logical step for me, was to talk about it. I don't like people to have to wonder or assume things. I just tell people things. So when I started doing that, I'm getting feedback. Oh my gosh, I'm on the same stage as you. And oh, I just started my chemo last week. And next thing you know, you feel supported, every comment, every like. But for us, you feel like it's like they pile up and that you can like nest on them, which sounds silly, but that's just like how I ended up like really thinking about things, is every word, every phrase, every message back and forth, and like the laughing if I made like a dark humor joke about it, and feeling like I wasn't alone
Hmm.
changed everything. Finding somebody who was on in the exact same wavelength as me, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to send you this picture. Can I text you?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is like becoming official." And she sent me a picture of her baking Christmas cookies with her children because I was crying. I had just shaved my head.
Mm.
And it was a dark day. It was right around Christmas. And she sent me a picture of her bald head in an apron, and she was baking cookies, and she said, "Look, we can both be bald on Christmas now."
Oh,
That is so symbolic of moving forward, not just with her friendship, who now we have each other forever, but just that idea that somebody else knows exactly how you feel. That sounds cliche, but
I don't think so. I think it's important. And I call those hearts, those likes, those pictures, just a moment. I named them happiness tripwires because they give
oh
the other person just
yeah.
has a
Mhm.
moment of happiness. And it turns out that thing, that, ah, somebody's with me, I'm nesting on top of, somebody sees me, somebody else is bald at Christmas, and we're laughing about it, right? And
Yep.
it releases dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin into your bloodstream, which makes you feel happier, yay, makes you think clearer, good, but even has the benefit of bolstering your immune system. Like it's actually good for you.
I love that.
So you were naturally sending and receiving happiness, happygrams, if you will, happiness tripwires.
That's See, there you go. All of my sarcastic dark humor had a purpose.
Absolutely. All right. So speaking of dark, let's talk about waking up from surgery.
Ah,
What
good
happened when
times.
you woke up from surgery, and how did that change your perspective?
I was just so excited. This was the day I was looking forward to since Becky called me the first day, and I was lying there and thinking to myself like, this is so exciting. They actually commented and said that I was like the happiest pre-op person that they'd ever seen. And I was just glowing because I knew that this was actually the physical moment when it was going to be taken away from me. I wanted it out. I wanted the chemo to do its job, shrink it, get it out. And I kept saying that. So when I woke up, I found another one while we were in there. I remember a time when I was in college, and this is the moment I thought about this, and I tried to push it away. But I remember when I was in college and I like felt something like weird, and I was way too scared to even call a doctor and say the word I feel a lump because I was 22. And my friend was like, just go, just go. And I remember going, like very vague memory. And she said, okay, let's schedule a mammogram and have a scan. And I never called, I never went,
Mm.
and it went away. The feeling went away. And here I am 20 years later, and at the same area, they find a flattened cancerous tumor.
So in the back of your mind, you're like, is that what was there? And it
Yep.
just got smushed.
And what would have happened to my life?
Right. But you got to stay present.
So, and so I just shook it off and like had the bowl and everything, and I just wanted to eat something.
What was the impact of your daughter was relatively young when you were going through
hmm
this? What was
hmm
the impact of that, of her needs, her existence on you?
I am eternally grateful, again, coming back to gratitude, that she was 2.5. She barely remembers anything about it. She only remembers what we've told her. Oh, I was sick, and she knows my the breast cancer pink ribbon, and she knows that, but she doesn't remember it because another round of gratitude for my family. We had luckily, coincidentally, randomly decided to move back to my hometown 6 months prior.
Wow.
Maybe, oh, that 6 months isn't right, but not that long prior to that. And we live 6 minutes away from my parents. And they are the best parents for me ever. And my mom just does anything for anyone at any time, and just was already just jumping in. And she watched my baby 5 days a week. My husband's parents lived a little farther away, but same, she was a nurse. And so I had her on my side. The luck of having this situation was made it all the difference, because my mom, who probably taught my daughter to read when she was 3, and she was a retired first grade teacher. I couldn't have handpicked something better for my daughter. That's where she went. My sister moved home and worked from home and was able to care for her as well. So I don't even think my daughter probably had a better time over there than she would have with me. So I never for one second had to really worry about that. And I'm so lucky, but it does make me now, like I said, I really value the good vibes and having that time with her.
I think that also there's a comfort and confidence when you know your child is safe. Like you can
Mhm.
focus on your own care, your own body, because your daughter's happy, she's safe, she's loved, and to some extent, she's insulated, which is a gift, is a real gift. Okay, so real time rapid fire. What are 5 things you wish someone had told you before treatment began? Just real tactical. Here's the things people should know.
Try cold capping. Don't let anyone try to talk you out of it, because I was talked out of it. But it was newer back then. Exercise during chemo, because I don't know if I was given the wrong advice, but it was like a survive mode. And I wish now, looking back, I had done some walks. Oh, this is like the real truth. This is like the spoiler alert. If you don't want to hear this, pause or fast forward this part of the podcast, but it's not over. There's no over. But I feel like it got me through not knowing that. So it's hard to say. Would I have wanted to know that? I don't know. Because I was like, okay, so surgery, great, June, done. I can never think about this again. So that's like a secret one. When my oncologist asked at the last appointment, so how are you feeling? You probably don't even think about it every day. I'm like, wait, yes, I do. Every day when I take that stupid pill, think about it.
Yeah.
But she was trying to be nice. Love her. Okay, so that was 3. Before you start chemo, eat all of your favorite foods, because they might never be your favorite foods ever again. Sushi. I try so hard.
Uh, you lost that love and feeling, huh?
It's gone.
Oh,
And then finally, plan somewhere awesome to take a post-op or post-treatment trip that you've always wanted to go to, and think about it every single day.
love it. All right, last question. If you could tattoo one sentence on the arm of every newly diagnosed cancer patient to help them through their journey, what would it say?
I think I have to circle back to the beginning, and that first sentence that I repeat is I am so lucky to be here.
Perfect. I am
or
so
alive
lucky.
or whatever.
I'm so lucky to be here.
I'm so lucky.